This presentation provides an overview of 3 items: the TYRO project consent process, intake forms, and the pre-program survey completed at enrollment. The TYRO Leadership Adult Mentoring Reentry Project is a Second Chance Act grant funded by the Department of Justice that provides transition services as well as pre- and post-release mentoring to inmates who will be recruited from Richland and Turnbull correctional institutions. It includes the collection of research data and an evaluation of reentry services and mentoring services. The TYRO project will recruit inmates in the 2 prisons who will be matched with mentors. Because we will be collecting information from you during incarceration and after your reentry into the community, we are providing you with specific information about your participation in the TYRO project as a research participant and ask that you complete some paperwork, which is part of the data collection consent process for the TYRO project. We will ask you to sign a participant consent form, which I am going to read to you now. Should you no longer be interested in participating as a participant with the TYRO project, you are free to leave this meeting at any time. I will ask you periodically if you are still interested in participating, and if you are no longer interested, you can leave this meeting at any time. You are invited to be part of the TYRO Leadership Adult Mentoring Reentry Project, otherwise known as the TYRO Project, that provides reentry services to inmates who are preparing to be released from Richland Correctional Institution and Trumbull Correctional Institution to one of 4 Ohio cities: Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown, or Warren. We will be conducting an evaluation of the TYRO project that looks at the impact of services provided on recidivism of the inmates served. Recidivism can be traced back to a lack of receiving effective services, which makes successful reentry a challenge. We plan to measure the effectiveness of the TYRO project, including reentry and mentoring services. Are you still interested in participating as a participant in the TYRO project? If no, thank you for your interest and please feel free to leave the meeting. For those who are still interested, we will continue with the consent overview. What is involved in the TYRO Leadership Adult Mentoring Reentry Project? The TYRO project will enroll 225 men aged 18 years and older. Participating in the TYRO project will not affect your chances for parole one way or the other. If you decide to participate, you will be asked to complete several forms that are described below. To evaluate the effectiveness of the TYRO project reentry and mentoring services, we will compare 2 groups of individuals who agreed to participate, a TYRO group and an ODRC group. These 2 groups are described later. 150 participants will be randomly assigned to the TYRO group, and 75 will be randomly assigned to the ODRC group using a computer-generated process. Within 2 weeks of your enrollment today, you will receive a letter from Midwest Evaluation and Research addressed to you here at the prison, notifying you whether you have been randomly assigned to the TYRO group or to the ODRC group. You cannot select which group you want to participate in, and the RIDGE Project and the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections cannot assign you to one or the other group. You have a 67% or a 2/3 chance of being assigned to the TYRO group and a 33% or 1/3 chance of being assigned to the ODRC group. Approximately 12 months after your reentry into the community, we will contact you to ask some final questions. Those inmates who are randomly assigned to the TYRO group will receive pre-release reentry planning from the RIDGE Project staff, and participants in Trumbull Correctional Institution will receive pre-release reentry planning from the Mahoning Valley Hope Center staff. In both prisons, pre-release planning will occur in collaboration with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. Reentry transition services will include an assessment of your needs and will include referrals based on your assessed needs. For example, referrals to agencies that provide education, job readiness, employment assistance, etc. Participants in both prisons will be matched with a mentor prior to release. Mentoring sessions are expected to occur pre-release as allowed by the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. Pre-release mentoring can take place face-to-face, over the phone, through email, or via social media. post-release mentoring is expected to be face-to-face for 1 hour at least once per week during the first 3 months after release, and at least 2 hours per month during months 4 through 6 after release. Those inmates who are randomly assigned to the ODRC group will receive standard pre-release transition planning from the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, or the ODRC, staff and its volunteers specific to the prison where you are incarcerated. Are you still interested in participating as a participant in the TYRO project? If no, thank you for your interest and please feel free to leave the training. For those who are still interested, we will continue with the consent overview. In addition to the consent forms you will be asked to sign shortly today, the TYRO group and ODRC group participants will be asked to complete the following forms, each of which should take about 30 to 45 minutes to complete. First, the participant Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections assessment scores. If you enroll in the TYRO project, the evaluators request permission to access your risk assessment scores as determined by the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. Second, participant intake form. If you accept our invitation to enroll in the TYRO project and sign this consent form, you will then complete an intake form and an enrollment survey. The intake form asks general background questions about your race, ethnicity, marital status, children, education, employment, health insurance, and incarceration history. Because we want to maintain contact with you after your reentry into the community, we ask for your home contact information. Since addresses can sometimes change, we request that you provide contact information for 4 individuals who will always know where you are. By signing the intake form, you give us permission to contact these individuals in the event that your contact information becomes outdated. 3. The Participant Enrollment Survey. At the time of your enrollment in the program, you will be asked to answer questions about parenting and family interactions, co-parenting and relationship beliefs and behaviors, financial beliefs, employment beliefs, and case management and program interactions. 4. Participant 12-month post-release survey. Approximately 12 months after your release into the community, we will contact you to ask some final questions. These questions will ask about your life status since release, such as housing, health, education, relationships, transportation, employment, finances, and about satisfaction with the reentry services that you received. Number 5, participant dropout questionnaire. We do not anticipate a need to administer this telephone questionnaire. However, should you decide to stop participating in the TYRO project, we will contact you to ask about your experiences and why you decided to drop out. Responding to these questions is completely voluntary. Are you still interested in participating as a participant in the TYRO project? If no, thank you for your interest and please feel free to leave this training. For those who are still interested, we will now continue with the consent overview. The evaluators may stop the TYRO project evaluation at any time. They may also remove you for various other reasons, i.e., if you move outside of the Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown, or Warren areas, if you become incarcerated in another state, and if we are unable to locate you after multiple tries and through the contacts you have provided. They can do this without your consent. Your part of the TYRO project evaluation will conclude approximately 12 months after you are released into the community. Payment to participant. There are no payments to participant in the TYRO project. Risks. For participants in the TYRO group, the TYRO project involves being matched with a mentor. Efforts will be made to match you with a mentor with whom you will be compatible, but it is possible that there may be personality issues or that your assigned mentor may drop out of the mentoring program. In addition, participants in the TYRO group will work with the Ridge Project and the Mahoning Valley Hope Center staff who will assist the group with transition planning. Participants in the ODRC group will receive reentry services and transition planning provided by the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections staff. We do not anticipate that the TYRO project will involve any physical or non-physical risks, but there may be risks that we cannot predict. Benefits to taking part in the evaluation. Dependent upon assignment to the TYRO group or the ODRC group, it is reasonable to expect that benefits may include better attainment of the goals specified in your reentry plan and to experience lower risk of recidivism. However, we cannot guarantee that you will personally experience benefits from participating. Others may benefit in the future from the information we learn from the TYRO project evaluation. Confidentiality. We respect the confidentiality of the information you share with us and will make every effort to keep it confidential and to protect it from unauthorized disclosure, tampering, or damage. The evaluation team will follow strict rules to protect your privacy. All individuals who work on the TYRO project evaluation are trained to protect confidential information and have signed a confidentiality pledge. Any papers that include your name or other identifying information will be kept in a locked area, and any computer files with your name will be protected by a password. Your name will never be used in any report written for the TYRO project evaluation. However, please keep in mind that we have to report to the authorities if you tell any team member about someone being harmed or that you want to harm someone. Also, we may have to give up information about you if a court orders us to do so. Your rights as a participant. Participation in the TYRO project is voluntary. You have the right not to participate at all or to leave the TYRO project at any time. Deciding not to participate or choosing to leave the TYRO project will not result in any penalty or loss of benefits to which you are entitled, and it will not harm your relationship with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. If you decide to withdraw from the TYRO project, we will contact you to ask a few questions about why you chose to withdraw. However, you are not required to respond to these follow-up questions. Contacts for questions or problems. If you have any questions about the TYRO project evaluation study, you may contact Dr. Matthew Shepard or Barbara Sterrett. If you have any questions or concerns about your rights as a TYRO project mentor, you should contact Dr. Dana Gonzalez. Contact information for these individuals is included in the paper copy of the consent form I am going to ask you to sign. We are passing out to each of you 2 copies of the participant consent form that I just explained. Please read it, and if you are still interested in being a participant in the TYRO project, print your name, date, and sign both copies. The facilitator will witness your signature on both copies and return 1 copy to you for your records. By signing the participant consent form, you acknowledge that you are giving your consent 1. To participate in the TYRO Leadership Adult Mentoring Reentry Project Evaluation. 2. Your consent to access participants' Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections assessment scores for the TYRO Project Evaluation. And 3. Your consent to contact individuals listed in the participants' intake form if participants' contact information becomes outdated. We are now going to ask you to complete 2 forms, the 4-page participant intake form and the 3-page participant enrollment survey. This first form is the participant intake form. Please print your name, ODRC number, prison name, and the date in the top section. Read the directions and confidentiality policy, then sign your name and enter today's date to the right of your signature. Please answer each question on the form as directed. The facilitators are available to answer your questions. Once you have completed the intake form, please give it to the facilitator so they can look it over and make sure there are not any missing responses. The second form is the participant pre-program survey. Please enter today's date and print your name. Please answer each question on the form as directed, marking only 1 response for each question. Once you have completed the survey, please give the facilitators your completed form so they can look it over to make sure there are no missing responses. Within 2 weeks of your enrollment today, you will receive a letter from Midwest Evaluation and Research telling whether you have been randomly assigned to the TYRO group or to the ODRC group. As we mentioned earlier, you cannot select which group you want to participate in, and the RIDGE project and the ODRC cannot assign you to one group or the other. About 12 months after you're released into the community, we will contact you to ask some final questions similar to the ones that you just answered. Thank you for participating in the TYRO project. We look forward to working with you. The facilitators will now provide you with additional information about what participants assigned to the TYRO group can expect regarding being assigned to a mentor and receiving reentry services.